So now that you have seen Oliver and his little room, we can start with what we're going to do to the foam and the different kinds of foam that we're going to use for this room. So, oh, no Olivers were harmed in the making of this video. He's fine. Okay. This is just foam board. This is my favorite foam board. I get this from the Dollar Tree. It is just Dollar Tree foam board. One of the reasons that I enjoy this foam board so much is because the paper peels off so easily from both sides. We don't want the paper. The paper we're going to peel off, and we just want this foam. The foam is all we're after. Some foam boards that you get from places, Walmart, different places that sell foam board, this paper doesn't peel off this way, and then you have to wet it. You have to do different things to get all the paper that's stuck to the foam board off. This Dollar Tree brand of foam board, that does not happen. This foam paper comes right off. It's so easy. So I love this. When I go to Dollar Tree, I'll buy several sheets at once, and I use it for a lot of stuff, as you can see. This piece has been used a lot. I may use some mat board again, one of my favorite things to use. I don't use a lot of expensive stuff. The stuff I use for these projects, I think just about anybody may have on hand, or it's going to be cost effective enough that we all can afford to get them or find substitutes around the house to do it, because making a miniature or making something for your dollhouse shouldn't cost as much as making something for your real house. That's my opinion. This is just foam. I'm not sure what this is called. My husband bought it at Lowe's or Home Depot, one of the two, but it's the blue, almost like the insulation foam. It's a little thicker. This one is like 5/8 of an inch thick, so it's kind of thick. I love this foam. We get it in a great big sheet, and we use it for a lot of stuff. I use it for a lot of projects. I've made brick walls, I've made steps, I've made so many things from this, because it's not only so easy to turn into things, it's very easy to score it, it's very easy to cut it, very easy to paint it. I make wood planks for the roof or the ceiling in my dollhouses. I'll have my husband cut it with what is that thing called? It cuts foam, a foam cutter. It cuts foam. It's a foam cutter. He'll cut strips however wide and thick I want it. If I need it thinner, he'll cut it thinner. If I need it whatever the size, he'll cut that for me, and then I can make it look like wood and paint it, and maybe I'll do a tutorial on that and show you how I do that, because it's not hard. But I'll do those and make beams for the ceilings of the dollhouses, and I'm going to do that in the living room for the dollhouse I'm working on. But anyway, that's what we're going to use for the stone pillars. We're going to do that and turn these into stone. Right now they're just blue pieces of foam, and the piece that we're going to turn into the gate is the white foam board. Now the other thing that we're going to need for this, coffee stir sticks. Simple, just coffee stir sticks. You're going to want some type of scissor, or I even will use my needle nose pliers, because they do have a cutting blade, because the only thing we're going to use this for is just to cut this rounded end off of the coffee stir stick, because this gate has a frame around it, and we're just going to want to have smooth edges to these coffee stir sticks, so I just need to cut those off. We're going to want glue. We're going to want a pencil. I don't even know what all we're going to want, because I don't know how we're going to do this, because I'm making it up as I go. But so far, that's what I, oh, and our ruler. And of course, we know this is my favorite ruler because it's the one that I can read, because it's the Victor Easy Read ruler. So I guess we'll start with the barn door first. And we'll cut the coffee stir sticks to fit the edges of that. So I know, without looking at a picture of what the gate looks like, I'm going to need the edge on each side and in the middle to come up bigger. It's going to be taller because the edge of these is a little taller on that gate. And I'll try to figure out how to insert a picture of what this thing looks like so everybody can see. But what I did in that room is I measured across how wide I wanted this door to be. And then I just cut that in half with a pencil so I could find the middle. So this is 5 3/8 across, and my middle is at 2 3/4. So that's the middle. And then height, I've got that measured at 4 3/4 inches. So what I'll do is I'll cut 4 of these coffee stir sticks to be the same length. I think I've got a few of them already cut. 3. I've already cut them. I've already cut these. So what I'll do is these will be glued down to make a frame around what will be the gate doors so that it'll look more like a door. And then we'll do the inside detail because it's going to have a little detail inside to make it look like that Jurassic door. I think I drew it out on paper somewhere, but I don't know what I did with my paper right offhand. And I don't know how long this video is going to be. I may have to stop it and restart it in a little bit because I do have to go to work. We're just going to use the Aleene's tacky glue. That's what we have handy. You can use whichever kind of glue you want. I wouldn't use hot glue. Hot glue and this foam does not work well together. So if you're using some kind of glue on this, don't use hot glue. That's not going to work out. I think these are probably a little long for what I want them to be, so let's maybe cut them just a little shorter. That's probably good. So this is starting to look more like doors than just a piece of foam. It's more like a door than a piece of foam. So now we need to do one on the bottom. I'm not giving exact measurements on this because if you're going to make one for your room, you may not have the same dollhouse I have. Your room may not be the same as my room. You may not put it in the same spot. So you'll need to do measurements for where you're going to put it in your room should you decide to do something similar. Or maybe you're just watching it for fun because you want to see what I'm doing, see if I mess up, which very likely. I didn't put my glue upside down, so now I'm having to sit here and shake it a little bit so it comes to the end of the nozzle. like to have to sit and wait on glue. I'm that impatient. And then it has another one so far up. This is not going to be exact. This is just like my rendering. It's just like my idea of what this is supposed to look like. Oh, those scissors would have worked, but I'll just go ahead and use the cutter. Feet are going to sleep. I'm sitting on them. I do this in my living room because I do have a place I can craft, but I don't like to go into a separate room and just be separated and craft by myself. So I do spend a lot of time just making stuff and crafting in my living room, just because I'm still sitting with my family and I'm spending time still with my family, even if I'm doing something. So, I don't know. I don't like to be separated. I guess I'm a people person. Alright, now for the one that's going to go to the side, I am going to get my little fancy cutter for that. So, let me grab that. But you don't need it. Well, you know what? Let's do it without it. Because you don't need it. You can use it, but you don't need it. Let's mark it. So what I'm going to do to make this cut, because I want this one to go at an angle, and I want to cut it so it fits right in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this one on top of that one. I'm just going to draw a pencil line where they intersect. And then I'm going to take my cutter, this really fancy pair of cutters here, and I'm going to cut that angle. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. If it's not exact, I'm not going to be mad at myself, because it's a coffee stir stick and I can fill in the gaps if I need to. But it's also supposed to simulate a wooden gate from the Jurassic Park thing, and it might not have been perfect. I don't know. Maybe theirs wasn't perfect. What do I know? So I'm going to draw a little line right there where that should fit in perfectly. And then I'm going to draw a little line here. Down here, I'm going to try something I haven't tried before, and that is to make it like an arrow, like a point, so it fits in to my little corner. I've never done that before. I might mess up right now. And if I do, that's okay. We're friends, right? You can see me mess up. You won't judge me. Okay. So in theory, this should fit. And we can always use one of our really fancy inner boards to sand off any extra pieces. Now, where did I make that pencil mark? Okay, so let's see if I can make this little cut. Here. Holy cow, what just did that? I just dang cut that. Okay, now, let's see if it fits. I don't know. Oh, what do you know? Okay. Put some glue on here. I can't believe I just did that. Don't be too proud of yourself, Tammy. you're going to mess up something else before this day's over. Okay, so that's how that ended up. I actually did something that I didn't know I could do. So I cut it so that piece fits in there. That's looking more like the little door that I wanted it to look like. I'll do the other side in a minute. The next thing I want to show you is how I'm going to make the back of this look like wood, because I'm afraid my camera is going to run out of time or space, and I'm going to run out of time before I have to get ready for work. So to do this wood grain on the back of this foam board, we're going to have to make that look like wood before we paint it. So we're going to have to do a little bit of stuff to that, because if we just paint that foam, that's not going to look like wood. That is just going to look like foam board. So we have to do something to it. And what we're going to do, I've got a couple of tools that I use for that. This is one of my sculpting tools. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a couple of different types of points on it. This also is a sculpting tool. I like to play in clay too. This one is just a pointed little sculpting tool that I use. This one, I don't know what that's for. It came from Harbor Freight, I think. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this one came from Harbor Freight too. I love going to tool stores and home supply stores to find stuff. I don't know why. I find a lot of good stuff there. You can use a toothpick. You can use a piece of a coffee stir stick. If you just break it, it's got some jagged edges on it now. So we can use this even. So what we're going to do, first, we're going to use something that's got a sharp point on it. If you want to use a toothpick, because that's what you have handy, that's perfectly fine. But we have to make planks in this wood so that it looks like there's individual boards in it. So we're going to do each side separately. So this side that we've already put the piece of wood across, we're going to put a plank on there. So get something that you want to measure your planks of wood for. I think I'll just use my finger because it's handy and it'll be the same all the way across. I'm just going to put my finger down and I'm going to make a little mark, and then move my finger over, make a mark, put my finger over, make a mark. Okay, so that's going to give me a couple of wood planks. I'm just going to draw a line straight down with the toothpick, go over my wood. And you'll see more of your detail to what you've done once you put your paint on, and that'll be a whole different video because that's going to be a whole different kind of thing. Okay, so now we've got lines going down that foam. So each of these lines is going to be a different plank of wood. Now, to make sure that it looks like individual planks of wood, come to the edge of the foam and just kind of make an indentation there with whatever you just used to make that, to kind of separate that and make it look like an individual piece of wood. You don't have to score it all the way through, all the way down, but just to make that look like an individual piece of wood is really a good idea. Now, take something that is sharp or jagged, like your broken coffee stir stick. If you have a small wire brush, which I do have, but I'm not going to use that because not everybody has one, this will work just fine. We're just going to take this and we're just going to draw little jagged lines, like little S shapes or little jaggedy, to make our wood grain. And all of this will show up once we put the paint on it. It'll show up better. I mean, you'll see the lines that you're making now, but it'll make more sense as to what it is when we put paint on it after a while. Right now it's just going to look like a piece of foam with some lines drawn on it. You don't want these lines to be quite as deep as the lines that you're going to score to make your individual boards. You want those to be kind of a little deeper. You don't want them to go all the way through your foam board, because then your foam board is just going to be cut in half. But you want those to be just a little deeper of a score, and the lines for the wood grain you don't want to be quite as deep. That's what the two different sides will look like, if you can tell the difference in the two. Now, one thing I really like to do to make my wood planks look more like wood planks when I paint them is I like to put some knots in the wood. And to do that, I'll take one of these little sharp pointy things, or the tip of a pencil, or just the toothpick, and I'll go somewhere on my wood plank, and I'll just take my little pointy thing and I'll just make a circle, and then just draw out from the circle just a little, what is that thing called, like you just start in the middle, make a circle, and then you just go around and around and around, make it a little bigger, just a little bit, just a couple of circles around it, so it almost looks like a cyclone, or I don't even know what that word is. I can see it, I know what I'm doing, I just can't think of the word. I'm having a moment. Forgive me, tomorrow's my birthday. I'm in my 50s, y'all. That's hard for me. When I was younger and my parents were in their 40s and 50s, I swore they were like the oldest people on the planet. Like, oh, any day I'm going to be an orphan because my parents are so old. They're like in their 40s. What a brat. I didn't know anything, because Lord, here I'm in my 50s. I'm not old, really, much. Okay, so we have some knots in the wood now that'll show up a little bit better when we paint this, and we can make it as distressed and as old looking as we want, or we can make it, you know, fresh looking wood or whatever. Now, the last thing I'm going to do before I stop this part of the video, I'm going to take my sharp thing, whether that be this or the toothpick or whatever, and I'm just going to take it along the edge of the foam, all along this edge, and because I want my wood to look distressed. I want this headboard to look like this wood has been sitting out there in Jurassic World for a while, and this wood is starting to break down and get decayed some. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to make some lines up, and I'm going to distress the ends of this foam to make the ends of my board look like it's a little bit distressed. If some of it tears off, I'm okay with that, because I can paint it and I can work with that. I'm not going to be mad. I want it to look a little bit worse for wear. Now, if I have pieces that are like coming out, I'll file them away, because I don't want it to look like it's popcorn or anything. This little file that. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry for that sound. I know that's annoying. Alright, so that is the wood plank so far. We'll continue on with this a little later, and we'll pick up on finishing the board for the doors, and then we're going to do something to this to make the stone, and I'll figure out how we're going to do the bed platform, which I know we're going to use foam. I think we're going to use this foam and layer it to make the bed stacked a little taller. And we may make this kind of foam turn into what looks like brick around the bed. I just have to work it out in my head. If I can see it in my head, I can do it in right here. I just have to find it in my head. Got to 3D do it in my head before I can 3D do it here. So once I wrap my head around it and I think about it enough, I'll be able to do it here. Just got to do it up here first. That's the problem. All right. Thanks for watching this so far, and I'll try to do another part to this later so we can work on our Jurassic room together and get our little dollhouse into some dino world.